I've been procrastinating doing this piece for a few months, and I just had a pretty powerful visualization meditation. I don't usually do those, but I felt inspired to do so, and it was powerful. So I'm feeling a little bit lofty, a little bit airy, and I don't know how coherent my sentences and thoughts will be, but I'll give it a shot. So the night of the soul. What is it? It's a period of intense suffering. What is suffering? Suffering is characterized by aversion and also grasping. It's where a person, a mind, an ego, is grasping at something. Either it could be an idea, it could be a job, it could be love, it could be anything, but they're grasping, they want it, their mind wants it, and for whatever reason, the reality that they experience is not what they want, so then they are experiencing pain. Also, aversion is an even more clear way to explain suffering. And when a person is around something they don't want to be around, or in a situation that they don't want to be in. Let's say they're working a job that they hate for some reason. Their mind has created that suffering for them. There is aversion. Let's say you value quiet. You very much appreciate being in silence and solitude. And then there's little kids around. And you have this aversion. You're like, no, that's not me. That's not my energy. And the ego starts to create, it's holding on to whatever it's created. But to really explain what suffering is more than pain, because yes, you could have a death of a relative and you'll experience pain. Or you could lose, say, a job and you'll experience pain. But suffering takes it to another level. It's sometimes referred to as the pain of pain, in which you have an aversion to the pain. So in a situation that you don't want to be in, you suddenly start to experience an aversion to the experience itself. And that can actually prolong the experience, as some may know. So in regards to the dark night of the soul, you experience a period of intense suffering that is prolonged for usually weeks, months. I'm sure there are some that have experienced a lifetime of suffering. What's different about the night of the soul is that it's usually a path to profound spiritual growth, sometimes referred to as the death of the ego. The ego, whatever reality that the ego has created and is holding on to, the mind that has created this reality that it wants, but reality is giving the ego a very different experience, and you start to suffer. And then a few things can happen. One being your expectations of what reality are going to be actually change. So suddenly you no longer think of yourself as this hotshot success. You're just a regular old guy, and your expectations have changed. Or in the case of spiritual growth, you think of yourself as this hotshot, big shot success, and suddenly the reality is not giving you this feedback, and your ego will hold on to it as long as it can, and that is the root of the suffering. But if you are able to fully let it go and surrender to it, you can experience transformation. So I myself did experience a night of the soul, and it was probably about 4 months in its duration, which felt like a lifetime. And during the night of the soul, you feel very alone. You are very aware of the suffering of humanity, of the ignorance of humanity, of the course that the earth and humanity is on, and you kind of think, what's the point? Some other things that you experience while you're in the thick of the night of the soul is you feel very alone, and it doesn't seem like there's any end. You may have insights, have heard of spiritual communities. If you're on a spiritual path, I assume that's why most are watching this video. And you may see them, and you may feel like you don't fit in. The old world that you left, very materialistic, you certainly don't fit in there. But then there's this new world, this spiritual world, this non-linear world, which you don't seem to fit in either. You're in this middle ground. You feel so alone. There could be thoughts of suicide, and of course there's intense aversion. You don't want to be in this situation. You don't want it, and you wish, everything about it you don't want. And it is actually that of part of the reason is that aversion, that strong aversion, is why you're staying in it for so long. I thought the answer was I just needed to be alone. So I wanted alone time. And I had an intense grasping towards this solitude. I thought if only I could do a little bit more meditation, a little bit more yoga, if only everyone could leave me alone, my family, everyone, if I could just have some time alone, I could figure out why I was suffering. But using the mind to figure out while you're suffering, especially while you're in the suffering, is not typically a productive means of ending the suffering. It is in the letting go of the desires that you'll realize that they were just constructions of previous experiences, ideals that you probably learned from whether family, media, society, friends. So you essentially are going to let these things go. So during the night of the soul, there was a strong sense to grow spiritually. I knew I was on the path. I just thought, maybe these higher consciousness, love, all these things, maybe they're not for me in this lifetime. And they seem so far away. But at the same time, I was grasping towards these things, grasping towards higher consciousness, and I wouldn't let them go. It's a very egocentric model, which keeps you in the suffering, and you don't even realize it. It's very challenging, to put it nicely, during the night to actually realize that it's your mind's conditioning that is keeping you in the night of the soul. And part of my night of the soul as well was intense judgment of both myself and of others. And looking back, having come through it, I'm not going to judge myself for it. I'm going to hold compassionate space for myself, knowing that that was the process that I had to go through.